Here we go.
All right, guys, we are so fresh, so clean, ready to go. We're going to start this over. May not feel as authentic knowing that there was something that happened beforehand, but King Megan Electronics, they live a short life. It's just how it goes.
Listen, this is how things work around here. I've said this a million times. If this was the old days, this show would be over. So that would be you know what? Multitask, thinking about things like, oh, I got this, I got that. Okay, so at least I have pathways. I guess I can look at it like this. So.
No,
and I don't have to
you're doing
keep
good.
worried about Don telling me that, and I can move my head and do everything now. So, all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's those massive cheekbones you got that ruin your mic, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I'm always smiling. So, anyway, welcome to Devin the Gamer.
Man, I didn't realize how skinny your head was until you took off your mic.
Really?
Like, this guy's got a pinhead. I always thought it was like a lot bigger because the ear cans made it look bigger.
Oh, yeah, it does. Yeah. So, I was messing around with this, and then it's funny, especially when I take off the hat and I'm bald headed, and then it's just kind of like, that's what I was saying, that I look like a teacher when I was doing fight night.
Yeah, like a gym coach.
Yeah, like a gym coach. Old school gym coach. But anyway. All right, guys, welcome to Devin the Gamer, man. I made an explanation of why there was no GRG. I'm not going to get into that again. So I'll probably explain it on GRG Friday night. But anyway, man, what's going on with you, Don? How you been?
Not much.
Anything new?
Yeah, new tools. As I said before, it's going to be cut out from before. But yeah, new development tools are always a good thing. Quixel released MetaHuman. An early beta. It's somewhat limited. It has some restrictions in place, but the starting point, getting a quality character, which I think the hardest thing about making characters, the uncanny valley, the face, getting the eyes and stuff like that. This stuff is just time consuming. And what it does, really gets you a really good start on something. And you can technically just port it into a game from there, do the rest of your character design, add it to Unreal, and you're good to go. Or what you can do as well is what I'm doing is taking certain parts apart from the character I created in MetaHuman and exporting like things like normal maps, the polygon model itself, the level of detail, and do some edits to it. Do some things outside of the scope of MetaHuman and really get some unique looking characters, but look super lifelike. And I think I showed you a little bit of a preview of what I worked on yesterday. And realistically, my older character designs I have, the models, like the bust portion of the model, has been completely trashed, and I moved on to the new tool set, and it'll make a difference. It sucks to see all that hard work you put in the trash can, but at the end of the day, man, you got to keep up with the Joneses. So that's kind of more or less how that goes.
Right. No, I mean, you got access to the new tools and better, more efficient, then why not? So I mean, that's just kind of like how we play video games. I mean, you have the last iteration, and then all of a sudden, oh look, the new shiny this year's version.
Yeah, I think after this show, I'll show you some animation of the face moving and stuff like that.
Oh, that's gonna be hot.
Yeah, we've been friends for a while. Might as well give you the behind the scenes stuff. So like, you can say you've seen the part of the game before anyone else, so you can have that street cred. You know what I mean? So.
All right. Oh, okay. That's cool. That's nice. That's what I'm talking. All right. Oh man, so let's get to it. There's quite a few things that I want to kind of get and pick your brain with tonight. I definitely won't go into everything. Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so
okay.
Start off on some stuff. Okay, so let's just start off with the developer that left. He's formerly with Ben Studios. That's Ben Studios.
So he's no longer with them?
No. Matter of fact, I think that studio is closing down. Well, it might not be closing down.
Who's the one that did Ben? Is that the one that did
Days Gone?
Days Gone was their big title. They did smaller titles though. They did like a lot of Vita titles before, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did they work on? It sounds familiar. Like they worked on some Nathan Drake thing. Some what I'm talking about on the Vita.
Yeah. I'm looking it up right now.
Can't remember what the name of it is. I think it was them. And I think Days Gone was their first really big game.
Right.
Right.
That was their bigger game, but I'm over here looking at it right now. Oh, and that's taking me to their headquarters and how much money in their budget is. So okay, that was the wrong one. But regardless, I will look and see what the rest of their games are. But the thing that I wanted to get your thoughts on was was what he said. He was on a podcast, David Jaffe's podcast, and he basically said this. Because of course you heard last week that Sony was not going to continue the game once it was pitched out to them to do a sequel, and basically from the information that was leaked out or that was out was that the game didn't perform the way it should, and it didn't get a high Metacritic score. So that was two of the things that he said. He said one was that Sony is a stickler about having high Metacritic scores, and that was one of the reasons. And then again, the other one was that it just didn't sell enough.
Yeah, high Metacritic is a big selling point to not only their first party but their console. That's how they look at it. It's kind of a two for your buck. Like you say, you didn't sell a ton, but it helps sell you a bunch of consoles. If you get where I'm going with that,
right.
They consider that a win, as far as I understand, at least from the mindset outside looking in. And from the few people I know work at a Sony studio, so
yeah. Okay. Siphon Filter was another game. They did make an Uncharted, Golden Abyss.
That's right. It was Golden Abyss,
and they made Resistance, Retribution, and Bugsy. And then so they worked on Siphon Filter, but no, they didn't work on Bug Snacks. It was Bugsy. It was Bugsy.
Okay,
Bugsy. Yeah, it's a cat. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, I remember that. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Bugsy 3D. So yeah. No, you're right. Like they seem like they worked on Siphon Filter. That's something that got, and then Resistance. I do love Resistance. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, but they weren't the original creators of Resistance. It's kind of like it was kind of a spin-off, like the the Uncharted a bit, the Golden Abyss kind of thing. So it was kind of a lower. I don't want to say lower tier, but I mean it's meant for portable. I mean that's what it was.
Right.
AAA portable game is what it was back then. So.
Right, and so the problem is that they said that, and where this is on top of the fact of where they were saying that, Metacritic is a big factor for Sony. The other thing that raised everybody's eyebrows is when he said that, hey, you just need to get the games when they first launch if you want to get the support from Sony in order for us to make a sequel. Now, they didn't come out and say that the sequel is dead. They just turned them down when they pitched it to Sony. So
that can mean a lot of things, though.
Yeah, that could as well.
That could mean. I mean, it could be like, okay, what they pitched was too big of a budget. It could be as simple as that. It could be what they pitched they just didn't like they didn't show the areas where they wanted to improve. When it comes down to that, it could mean they wanted you to do something more like that, and there's creative differences. Where they took it with the pitch and that sort of thing. You got to keep in mind, yes, all those things factor in that I just mentioned, and all of the things that he brought up factors in. And you also got to look at the business model of Sony. They treat their first party as kind of the stepping stone to buying their console, and vice versa, to creating that ecosystem. That first party serves that purpose for Sony. It doesn't serve multiple purposes like it does on Xbox, where it serves selling their consoles. It serves for not only selling their consoles but selling their services, Xbox Live, all that sort of stuff. So there's a different weight on those developers on the Sony platform. So it doesn't surprise me they didn't get green light. I don't think it was a bad game, to be honest with you. There's a few games I dislike, and that's not one of them. You know what I mean? So it wasn't one that got me all excited because I'm kind of fatigued on the whole zombie thing. I need a little bit of break before I get back into a good zombie game, maybe. But it just is what it is. And that's the harsh reality. And here's the thing too: you can make them the most phenomenal game, it may not sell. That's a harsh reality. Maybe the wrong marketing's behind it. released the wrong time with different games that are out there. It doesn't mean a game sucks. And let's be honest too. Like, I hate to say this, but Metacritic doesn't mean crap anymore. In my view, as a creator, like,
no, we'll talk about a little bit more about it.
But because usually they're judged upon not upon the user score on Metacritic, but usually the critic score, right? So the IGNs and the GameSpots and all those sort of outlets are what kind of drives those sort of metrics for most studios. They have something written up in regards to Metacritic and how they either judge new projects or if a team's going to get a bonus structure, whatever it may be. A lot is tied and hanging on that relationship. But the reality is, more and more I look at these gaming websites that end up on the Metacritic. You know what I'm talking about. The whole media side of things, right? The media outlets, they're out of touch. they have no clue what gamers like in regards to that, and they cater to a certain audience. And I think they're missing on a huge portion of gaming that people enjoy. In regards to, and people have toned out. Like, people, I mean, I guarantee, I know for a fact, these big media outlet sites are not getting the traffic they once were. So the question is, what is the relevance of that, and what's the relevance of Metacritic for bonus structures and stuff like that? So, Sony's got a lot of good things going for them, but they also have some dated things going on. And I think the metric of looking at their games through Metacritic, I understand why they do it. They don't have to justify it to me. I get it. But I just don't think it's the future how they should judge their titles going forward. Because I think it was a good game. I think it was a good game, to be honest with you. So,
right. The one thing, though, that I had a problem with what he was saying is, well, if you want to support the game, buy the game day one. But the game was broken day one.
Didn't they have an issue with they one of the reasons why they got a low score is they sent it out to the media before they patched it,
right? And
then the media had a different patch, so media had a really bad experience and a different experience, even more different experience than, say, the people that bought it day one. Am I correct? Right?
But it was still bad day one, and then they eventually, after a couple of months, just normally have that's just a normal situation right now with games.
Yeah.
After a few months, they had another patch, and then by the end of the year, end of that year, they did a really good. Yeah, they did a really big patch, and then a year after that, they had another major patch, and the game ran a lot better. Just nowhere near as many hitches as it had before. So that to me was kind of like, well, that's all well and good, but. And look, we talked about this. I think the last show was that 6.5 million is a great number. I mean, especially for a new IP.
I don't know if it is or isn't. The problem is
right because of the budget. Yeah.
So it really comes down to what it makes and what you spend, right? And so we don't know what studios like that. You have no clue what they spend the money on, right? Like they can be spending on luxury coffee, for all we know, right? And not get anything on their return on
luxury coffee.
You get where I'm going with that. Like they could have been wasting money on certain things, or they could have talent that was conflicting one another. That was a big part of it and doesn't really show on the end product in regards to that. And then you have what is sold. So when people attach a certain million number to a title, you have to look at cost in profit, right? And that's something that the end user will never do, never be able to get that information for the most part, unless through the various means and that sort of thing. And so that's something I like to drill home. Is doesn't mean it's a successful game if it sold 5 or 6 million. Doesn't mean it's a bad game if it sells 100,000. A successful game is something that brings in profit. In an ideal scenario, you've covered your costs, you made your publisher happy. And a more ideal scenario is you generate a little bit, you don't do this with first party, but you generate a little bit more independence because you can now actually fund your own project to a further degree without as much help from the publisher. That would be the ideal world, and build towards that total independence as a studio. But obviously, that's not what you're trying to do as a first party. You're just trying to make sure the first party, I mean, your publisher is making you making them happy, right, and making them money. So I don't know if they made them money or not, or they feel like it's too big of a gamble, right? Like they can spend that much money, but the chances of them actually making their money back is just very, very small. So,
right, yeah, no, I mean that makes sense. I don't know. I thought that comment was pretty wild, especially knowing that your game was not. I mean, and I understand that supporting games and looking at a situation where gamers are kind of adjusting to, like, okay, let's just say for like Outriders, right? Mm-hmm. We have a lot of fun playing that game, but the game is broken. The game has a lot of factors that need
it's far from
fixed.
Perfect. Yeah,
it's far from perfect. But again, I believe that its Metacritic was better than Days Gone. But I mean, look.
But what does that really mean? You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, and that's what I was going to say. It really doesn't mean anything because I enjoy playing Days Gone. I haven't beat it, but I played good 12, 13 hours in it, and I was entertained. I mean, there was times when I looked and when I was fighting against a horde, or I've seen a horde come in or something like that, and I would get fascinated. I'm like, man, how did they put so many characters on a screen like that? That's just awesome, right? So and then just the story was kind of compelling. It was it's basically just kind of like it's not like Mario with looking for Peach, but it was basically he's looking for his lady and he just wouldn't give up on her. So and that can anybody, all types of people have different types of motivation. So
yeah,
and it has that gore factor that kind of has that The Last of Us feel to it a little bit in that retrospect, but it's still another zombie game.
Do you think the game suffered? Right, and Sony gets criticized for having a little bit of a template with their games, but
yes.
Do you think it suffered because it couldn't really stand out from the rest of the products that they have?
Well, no, the game was different. I mean, it had zombies.
It was different from a mechanic standpoint. If you really played it, it was different. But from a commercial standpoint, is what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, no, because I think what the problem with the game itself was that it I think, like you were saying before, that genre is starting to get old, dated. Yeah. Another problem with it was that it was advertised, but I don't know if people really gravitated to the lead protagonist. I mean, because that's one thing that gets a lot of people excited about a game, and I think give games longevity is the protagonist. Just like in a movie. So, I don't think if he was very likable, or the fact that he just was kind of bland. So those could be the factors.
My impression, he had character, but no one cared about his character.
Right.
If he was at a party, he'd be the guy that's the wallflower sitting in the corner, right? But you'd be like, that's the impression. People don't gravitate towards him. He's not that. It wasn't that personality, and that's important for a protagonist. In regards to they got a vision. From my side, art-wise, they have to stand out. They have to be unique. We were just talking about the character in my game.
Yeah, he definitely stands out.
You picked out that's the lead character, right? Like you knew right off the bat.
Yeah, right? I knew right off the bat, and I was just like, whoa, that's it's very creative.
It's creative and it's different. And it's unique and it draws your eye to it, right? That's the whole point of it, right? And even the other thing that I've told you about the Planet of the Future, there's certain details in there that make him stand out. He doesn't fit the mold of a particular style of character either, right? I would, without going too far with it, with what you're doing, I get a 48 hour or a what's the Mel Gibson, Danny Glover? Yeah. That's the vibe I get from. Yeah, that's imagine that in the future, just type punk future, like Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon meets the future, right?
48 hours.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're talking about here. But the whole point of what I was trying to say is the character has to draw you in some sort of way, and it's in every single way. It's the voice of the character. It's the aesthetics of the character. it's the turmoil that the character is put in. If you want to put emotion into what makes them relatable from an emotional standpoint, or you can say, hey, I know somebody like this. This resonates with me, and he just didn't have those hooks for people to really sink them into, at least from what I can tell, in regards to that. So I mean, that's important. You can look at other Sony franchises. Look at Kratos, right? It's visually appealing, appealing. Like makes you feel like a badass. You have a voice. You can't say anything about that voice, right?
That voice is amazing. Yeah,
both
voices. Yeah,
the voice brings you in.
Amazing.
For sure, right? And so you get immersed and you become that character. Look at their competition. Look at Master Chief. Master Chief is, man, you can't even change his armor without people getting pissed, right? Like you can only do certain things within a box, and and his voice is so iconic too, as well, right? And there's a little bit of that stoicness because he doesn't talk a lot.
Snake. Snake. Solid Snake.
Solid Snake is another example of it. The art direction they took that character, even in the early PlayStation days, it made a difference in regards to that. So your character has to have something that sinks them in and makes them unique. In regards to, so it's not really even bad graphics or anything like that, right? Like when you look at his character, right. It doesn't have that X factor to its design, right? Like, let's say it's a Utopia world, but he's the guy with the fur collar. Then you'd be like, who the hell is this dude, right? You know what I mean? But he doesn't have that thing that really brought him in. I mean, he looks more average than me. You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah. I mean,
and that's a problem.
He's just a biker.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a problem.
Oh yeah, no, and that's the thing. It's like, even if you have a protagonist that isn't likable or he kind of doesn't stand out, you definitely have to have a friend or something like that kind of brings it out. And in the days gone, he has a cool friend protagonist, but again, you have to leave because he's hurt, and then you got to do a lot of the stuff on your own. And I think since the guy doesn't
carry the story on his own and that sort of thing, right?
You have to go do stuff, and then you have a couple of conversations with him, and then the plot thickens. But it's still more the thing of, to me, is certain games, and I don't have a problem with the game being an open world game. You know how I love open world games. But I thought maybe if they were trying to be so story driven with it, like they were, maybe they should have kept it more, a little bit more lenient, kind of like what they did with The Last of Us 2. And I think maybe it would have gravitated more. But I mean, it was their vision. I'm not knocking it. Like I said, it's a good game, but it's just the thing that people have played enough zombie games. And that's another thing too, is that I think gamers like me have to realize is that when they were making that game was being made around the same time that Dead Rising 3 dropped, I'm sure.
Where it was starting to level out a little bit.
Right. And then, the next thing you know, here comes, Call of Duty doing zombies. Then here comes this game doing zombies, this other game doing zombies, this game. And then you got, by the time that I think that game came out, Dead Rising 4 already came out. It didn't do very well because people are getting tired of that genre. And then that's it. And then this game drops, and it just didn't have the same type of personality as though like an Aloy. Like I was saying before, I had the audio issues beforehand. Was that I went back and played Horizon Zero Dawn, and even though she's not very talkative or anything like that, but at least she has personality.
The character brings you to a unique world. It makes you question what the world is. There's a reason why they make her a redhead, because those are not very common in the world. They're like a unicorn, right? Like there are things that they made in that character design, and honestly, this is equally as important sometimes as well. Is you talk about the supportive roles of other characters in games, story-driven games. I really feel like the enemy type is super, super important. And it is something that should drive somebody to make something very, very unique. What is it? I don't know why it's escaping my mind now. What was their first-person shooter? Not Resistance. I don't know why.
Siphon Filter or
No, they're first-person shooter.
Killzone.
Killzone.
Yeah.
Perfect example. Look at Killzone's enemy types. Those images are burnt in my head forever. Like I cannot get those out of my head, right? And because they stand out. As soon as all you need is a dark silhouette with just the eyes glowing, and you know what that game is, right?
Right.
And so that the recognizable things like that is just amazing. In regards to there are times that Sony's done it really well. I feel like they didn't make a bad game. They just didn't make a memorable
game up to Sony standards.
Yeah, that's part of it too. Yeah, you're going to be compared to Naughty Dog. You're going to be compared to Sony Santa Monica. These are the studios you're going to be compared to, and you got to be able to support those guys. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you got to be complimentary, not just anything else. But so, what was his big take on? We went on a tangent on what makes a game memorable, but what was David Jaffe's big thing about it?
Well, no, it was just basically that he wanted to kind of clear the air, because also that it was rumored that he left because Sony was now bringing in Naughty Dog devs into Ben Studios to work on, I guess, on another Naughty Dog game or another Last of Us type of game, like a spinoff. And I believe that some people left, but the guy that was talking about the game itself, and I apologize that I don't have his name. Callie Mike can bring it up because he's going on with Callie Rex.
Yeah.
He can bring up his name, but he said that he left beforehand. So therefore, and we've talked about this before a million times. Developers, once they get done with a game, they usually just leave if they got another project, or if they, not every developer is going to be grandfathered in like people expect. So yeah, John Garvin. Yeah, that's John Garvin. Thank you, Callie.
Oh, gotcha.
And so, but yeah, the hot take to me was the point where he just came out and said, if you want to, buy the games day one, and I'm like, your game was broken. So I mean, maybe, and I understand publishers push you get to a certain point, and you have to push the game out. We've seen that with Cyberpunk. We've seen this with Outriders. We've seen it with the Avengers. We've seen it with.
It's one of those things.
With so many games, with Anthem, plenty of games.
Well, one of the things is it's the publisher. Everyone needs to sit down and have an honest conversation, and not get offended, right? Not be hyperbolic. None of that other bullshit, right? And just say the publisher saying this is what we expect. The studio saying this is what we can do, right? And the gamer saying, this ain't cutting it if it's like this. You know what I mean? And that my fear in the industry as a whole is, unfortunately, due to everybody want to be the next podcast person or the next personality out there, there is a lot of not wanting to understand the studios, not understanding what they're going through, not understanding all that sort of stuff, and more of just trying to dog on things just to get a leg up against, just to be a personality sometimes. And that's unfortunate, because what happens, it creates the developers into a position where they don't want to interact with the general population as much. And if you don't interact with the general population as much, there becomes this divide within the the developers and the gaming community. And there's not an understanding, and you can't come to solutions about these sort of things. Does that make sense?
No,
and then the publisher's looking at, well, where's the money? They're just going to look at numbers, right? And sometimes they can't see that bigger picture, and that's a big thing. It's one of the reasons why I do this sort of stuff and keep it to a minimum. But to be honest with you, it's super important for, I think, developers to kind of stick their neck out a little bit. It's essential. For the future of the industry, and I can't just do it. I only carry so much weight. Other personalities have got to do the same, and publishers got to be okay with it. And we just need to muddle through this, because at the end result is publishers will be making more money. The end result is I think developers will have a better understanding. People will have a better understanding what they're going with through it. So it doesn't have to be like have a bleeding heart for them sort of thing, but they just know what's evolved, and gamers, will get a better product overall. But the pride thing has to go away from all sides, and to have an honest conversation is super important. So.
Right, no doubt about that. Okay, so I do want to add a little bit more to this, but I will get to the next point. I see One Bad Mother got a question for you. He says, Don, when and if you get to it, did you watch GameStat? If you did, what areas of the presentation were the most exciting, assuming you use those tools someday, which was basically the stuff I was telling you about before we started, which was the
I need to get caught up on it. Like, I've been in meetings all day today, along with drawing. Matter of fact, I got in trouble for drawing while in a meeting because I was too distracting because they were watching my screen. I didn't realize I had that screen on and not my camera. Yeah, I really need to get caught up on that. I think what I should do is just a live react. I should go pull it up and do a live react on Twitch sometime tomorrow before
you should. Yeah,
before a game.
That'll probably be the thing.
And then I can just pause it and tell you how certain things may affect me or not affect me, and then I'll re-upload it on YouTube later. As well.
Yeah, I think that'd be the best thing for you. I think that's smart. Yeah, you should have been.
I'll do that. I'll do that. Catch me sometime tomorrow. I may tweet a thing or two.
Okay, all right. I'll share it.
Perfect.
All right. So yeah, no, but that's the thing too. Yeah, because I wanted to see if you had any information about the AMD Fidelity, was it FX, where it's got the RDNA 2, which was a big thing because people were saying that PlayStation was going to have the RDNA 3 and that it was RDNA 2, which now we find out that it's not. But for the stuff like that, if that you may know, I can only talk about it to a little bit. I'm not a savant like that. I mean, my boy Slayer PK, I know 108, they're really heavy in this type of tech talk. Those things like that, I mean, how significant is it to have a console that has these capabilities, which is RDNA 2 and all these other little features? And I know that we talked about these tools. To be in a console, and they're already talking about it right now, already, like 6 months in of the console's life.
What happened to Mega's voice?
You can't hear me?
Oh no! You just stopped like really sharp, I guess, is what it was.
Oh yeah.
Here's the thing.
I was like, not again.
I mean, here's the thing: is there's really exciting things when it comes to technology, and it's not even that. Like, the graphics pipeline on Sony's side has been improved too. But I think the glass ceiling's a little bit lower, if that makes any sense. And we haven't still seen the potential. What's the best way to utilize that power from any of these consoles? But you're going to see some significant improvements on Xbox. These are the things that they were planning around. That these are huge improvements. It's going to help the PC side of things. It's going to help the console side of things for Xbox, and it realistically. These, as the best way to describe it, these tools, they're the drivers behind the scenes, right? The first thing I want to do is if I have to hire someone to write a code, or I'm writing a code myself, with the limited ability of code writing that I have, I want to write something, and I just want to push it to the drivers and have the drivers do all the other heavy lifting, right? Does that make sense? And those sort of efficiencies are huge, and huge gains. And I think, remember when the original, was it Xbox One, where they were going DX11 to DX12?
12.
If I remember correctly. And people are going to say, oh, there's going to be these huge gains. And there were some cool features that are there for developers. At the end of the day, you guys didn't see much, right? Like, it didn't really change the game much as far as that goes. Xbox had to come up with more powerful hardware, and they had to be very creative with that powerful hardware to what you can get out of it. And I think what you're seeing now going forward is you're seeing, the best way to describe this, you really are seeing a much bigger jump than you were seeing from DX11 to DX12. From DX12 to DX Ultimate, and using all the features that they have. And this is just the first generation of those features. There's going to be more, I'm assuming, this time next year as well. and some additional refinements. So this will be a noticeable difference if developers use it. Just variable rate shading is a big one in regards to that. That clears so much overhead at a minimum, like a 30% additional overhead. That's huge. That's huge gains in regards to that, and there's going to be more than that when it comes right down to it. And the thing is, you also got to think about when you have full RDNA 2 feature sets, right? It's not RDNA 2. It's a list of features that make up RDNA 2, right?
Right.
Does that make sense? Yeah. It's like having a combination pizza. It's bell peppers, it's onions, it's sausage, it's hamburger.
That's a sacrilegious pizza.
It is. I don't put vegetarian stuff on my pizza, but it's a good example of all these ingredients that go on a pizza, right?
Yeah.
And is it really a combination when you take out the bell peppers and the onions and the mushrooms off there? It's a pizza still, but it doesn't have all that feature set.
Right.
And the way to look at it is, some tools, developers are going to leverage certain things more than others, right? They're going to find more use cases for their game and what's going on there. So it's all about flexibility when it comes down to all that stuff, and it's flexible and it's accessible, is from what I understand. And if those things are flexible and usable, then I think everyone's going to enrich from those things, and it's about hitting that ground running and allowing developers to easily integrate this sort of stuff. So.
Okay. All right. So I do want to get back to the original point that I wanted to ask before we moved on to another topic, and that was about Sony's how should I put it? Well, basically, they used to be a company that would make games that would take a lot of risks. Now, from hearing some of the things that's been going on, it seems to me that they have gotten into a space where they don't want to take as many risks, of course, because of the budget, things like that you were talking about earlier. So is Sony finna go through a period kind of like what the Xbox One did, just kind of giving you the same type of iterations of their games, of their big titles,
I think
with maybe a few hits here and there, or is it? Basically, you think that they can still be as innovative as they used to be?
They can be as well. It all depends on what they decide to do. That's up to them.
Right.
Their future's up to them what they decide to do. But really, what comes right down to it is they could, but are they? And my thing is, I don't think they're going to. In regards to this, and companies go through this. It's not just a Sony thing or a Microsoft thing. They find success in a very particular space. They start looking at the numbers of how much things cost, and they expect to treat things with a little bit of a rubber stamp in the game world. And then what happens is, hey, rubber stamp. Hey, rubber stamp don't work anymore because I wore it out, right? And I'm a little bit concerned about that because I know they're capable of more in regards to that, and I do feel like they found a good niche, and I don't think they should shy away from that niche, right? But they do need to diversify in some sort of aspects in order to have a future and figure out what that future may be. Because what happens is their type of games that they've been releasing may fall into the scenario that you hear people that clown Xbox about having Forza Gears and Halo all the time, right? Become the repeat. Now, the reality is you buy a PlayStation because you want a Last of Us experience. You want to have a Nathan Drake experience. You want to have Kratos, right? You want to have these experiences, right? So you definitely want those, but you don't want to wear out those franchises. And so they're not at that point where they wore out the franchises, but they have to be careful because these sort of plannings do take a time to get there. So.
Right, yeah, and that's the one thing about it that I wanted to just ask that question because, I mean, me personally, I just look at it from, if with Days Gone 2, they would think that for the first title, it would, it seems successful again, budgets, all that, but if they felt confident into the product or into the game, you would think that they would greenlight it. It would take some years. People would be people that already enjoyed it. They invested. Then that would also bring more attention to that game, especially it will be old the first game, so people will start playing it again, so they could get familiar with it. For people who didn't play it, play the first one, and now knowing that a second one is approaching. And I think this is the kind of thing that happened with Microsoft, is because with Rise, there were plenty of Xbox or late Xbox adopters that didn't play Rise, Sunset Overdrive, Recore, or Quantum. And then all of a sudden, I was hearing people just last year telling me, man, because we went through that drought, and they were like, oh man, I played Quantum Break for the first time. Oh, that was great. I mean, I played Rise. Rise is not as bad as what. And the reason why is because they don't think that there's a sequel coming. And when you have that floating out there to where a game that might have potential that people might want to play, but if they already played it, some people don't want. There's so many other games out there that is like, well, I know this other particular game, I can play that. That's going to get a sequel. I know I'm going to get to play another iteration of that.
Let me ask you this: do you think Sony may have passed on it because they felt it was too close to one of their other projects?
No, absolutely not. No, I think that they passed on it personally is because the Metacritic score. And Sony, I think Sony's going to live and die off of that sword.
It's never just driven by one thing, but you think that's the majority of the weight is the Metacritic score?
Well, yeah, no, I think cost is definitely another thing or whatever. But I think probably one of the other factors that maybe tipped the scales for them to deny them that first time is because of the Metacritic. And because, that's just not holding up to the Sony standard. And I think that could hurt them. And I mean, okay, let's just say this game that's coming up, Returnal. All right. Now, you've heard me say this, and it's not to be mean or anything about it. It looks great. It looks good. But I just don't know if that game, it reminds me of Godfall. Like, is that game really going to tip the scales to be the next huge hit from Sony? Now, it's a different type of IP. And it's new, it's unique. That's great. That's the type of stuff that people want to see. But will it gravitate? Or if it doesn't get those high marks, with the Metacritic, then that game's going to get put in the dust. And then I think Sony will clamp down even more on just going to the IPs that they know that they can make the money on, like Spider-Man, etc. So I don't know. That's my opinion on it. I mean, I hope not, but it just kind of looks like they're going that direction.
Yeah, it's really hard to say what's going to happen with that. But didn't he say something about not buying the games at first was a big portion of it at launch?
Yeah. That's
the thing. I don't agree with that at all, to be honest with you.
No, I didn't like that at all either. I'm like, okay, first off, it didn't. The game wasn't. The game was broken. And then two,
you can't blame the gamer for not wanting to buy it if it's not up to snuff, right? Like I've always said this, what the balancing act, is if it's a game you're excited about, but there's a bit of disappointment because it didn't launch in the status that you should. Wait until it's ready. Doesn't mean you don't want to play the game. Don't spend the money on something. Let them earn your dollar.
Exactly.
And that's a very unpopular thing for me to say, to be honest with you. That people kind of look at me a little cross-eyed, but I'm serious about that, right? Because that's what keeps us as developers honest. Is what keeps gamers from feeling ripped off, right? And that's so important for the gamer not to feel ripped off, because we want to be excited, not think twice about buying games. Like that is so important. So the impression, the short-term gains are not as important as I feel as the long-term games with your customer base. And that's something that you got to think about. And that's, if you look at Sony's business model, I mean, I guess, this really is the case. Your relevancy is the first 6 months of your game, right?
Right.
And then after that point, it's not in the limelight, and people just don't pay attention to it all that much, right? But if you see this is the reason why games are always a continuous living world, so because they want people to continue to be engaged and continue to be part of the conversation, right? Look at Destiny; it's been part of the conversation the whole last generation. It's just a harsh reality, and so they just want to be part of what that is. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like they just missed the mark. It sucks. They're a talented team. There's no doubt about that. Maybe they created the game they wanted to create. They may not like the things I have to say, and I'm sure that's the case. Not all developers 100% agree with one another. That's not a real thing. In regards that we all have creative differences, right? So, but he's moved on, and I wish him the best of luck.
Yeah, no, I do too. And that's with any developer. If they moved on, then it's you don't want to see anybody fail. I mean, I don't have this. I really don't understand why, if there's a game that you didn't like from a certain developer or whatever, or studio, then just don't play the game. But there's no need to trash. They're human beings, just like we are. So I mean, they got lives, they got food, they got to put food on the table too, just like we do.
Well, this is not intended to mean to be a bleeding heart, but unless you're an artist and you haven't put art out in something you're proud of, and then you find out someone trashes it, you just don't know what it's like, right? And it's part of the game. You have to have tough skin, right. But you just can't. I don't think understand unless you try to create something. And as long as it's we're talking art, not the stuff that your mom hangs on the fridge and they're so proud of you. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're talking about putting your heart and soul.
Participation awards. You don't get that.
No. This is not. This is not what that is. So,
right.
But at the same token, a developer has to take the hits on the chin. Once they put a product out, and they have to. I want to see this come together. I hope it will with time, and that maturity will hit with gamers. I honestly think more gamers doing their own independent thing and interacting with the community will get us there eventually. We have to go through all the crap first before it gets better. And then once people find the right groove and go in the right direction, people see success when people go in the right direction. That really is going to put a lot of pressure on these media outlets to kind of change their game. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I think there's positive things. We just have to go through the crap first before we get there. So,
no doubt. Let me go ahead and read what one bad mother said.
He's got a lot of going on there.
Yeah. I mean, he's doing articles over here. He says opportunity cost. They already tipped their hand 2 years ago. Layden, while still there, said they were going for less games but increasing scale. It's going to take something better than really good if they're staying with a traditional business model. I totally agree, but see, again, this is where the diamonds in the rough. Okay, let's just say like Cuphead, right? Ori. I'm trying to think. Roblox. I don't have any interest in playing Roblox. The only time that I figured it out is when my wife's friends' kids came over here and asked me if I had the game, and I downloaded them and they played it all day, and I'm like, this is the stupidest game I've ever seen, but they enjoyed it. So, and it kept them out of their hair. So I was just like, okay, enjoy it. So, and of course, and now you're looking to seeing, how profitable it is right now. And so, like Minecraft, I have no interest.
I have no idea how Minecraft works ever. I still don't understand that game.
I thought it was really awesome for me to go into the beta and see the ray tracing. And look at stuff, but I didn't break bricks or anything like that. I just was walking around like, oh, wow, the difference in ray tracing on this game looks absolutely insane. But that doesn't mean I'm going to go out here and start busting blocks and kicking pigs in the head. I mean, I'm saying I don't have any interest in the game, but that's the thing. The diamonds in the rough is what Sony has been known for a very long time. And for them to go up into this, even though I know that, it's kind of like, to me, they're looking at their gaming business as like the movie, and they only want to go to their big hitters that they know that they're going to make the money off of, and then like for everything else in between, they're just going to do exclusive, timed exclusive, to try to kind of offset for them going to have to wait for their big budget games to come out. And I don't know, man. That just doesn't seem like Sony to me anymore, because I'm used to them bringing something. Like, I mean, I'm thinking of the PlayStation 2 when they came out with the bouncer and, Tekken Tag and stuff like that. And of course, I know game cost and games at that time and that level was completely different than now. I know that, but it's just that there's just so many spectacular games.
Rex points out a great game, like Little Big Planet. That was a risk.
Right.
That was a risk, and that was a cool game.
Right.
Like, it really was.
My daughter loved that game.
Yeah. Right. So
Oh yeah, and then Dreams as well. Yeah, Dreams. And see, that's another thing
Dreams
too.
hasn't seen the same success as Little Big Planet, but the Little Big Planet is my point, right? Like they took a chance and they made a sequel to that, and they made several sequels, and they turned him into a little mascot, and all these different things. So I think all those things are awesome. In regards to, and I want to see stuff like that from Sony. I don't mind the bangers. I want the big games, but I want them to feel like they can try something a little bit different, whatever that different thing is, right? Creative freedom, that's a big thing for me, but it has to be something that they want to do, and so I'm hoping we get there. We'll see how it all goes. So.
Right, yeah, that's definitely, yeah, so okay, and then another thing that One Bad Mother said, he said there's thousands of devs, and as Don said, they have better tools. It starts to diminish the impact of exclusives in the traditional sense unless they are game of the gen quality. Traditional model of exclusives will look old next to Game Pass. Now, I wasn't going to go there, but you know what? I have to. This is why Game Pass is succeeding, and it's going to change the whole dynamic of how gaming is. I mean, I think everybody's starting to see it now. Even I was seeing it back then when it first. I'm like, oh, this is just wait. I'm like, and so my thought was, I didn't think that the Xbox One X was going to be discontinued. I thought they were going to sell it at a low price, around $200, and I thought that they would let the S hang around for a little bit, and then they'd get rid of the S, but they would keep the X, and then they would have the Xbox One X and the Series X. And then they would have other things, but it didn't happen that way. But I thought, like, once you had a console that was in that 300 or less range, I said that's when Xbox is going to start killing it with Game Pass, because that right there is going to attract a lot of people. And of course, they have to get some heavy hitters on there. And once they do that, it's going to change the game. And look, I have never, and I've bought. No, this is the truth. I have never, ever. Seen hype for MLB The Show like I've seen it here just recently. I've bought MLB The Show for the last 6 years. And the only time that I've seen where people would really get hype about it is when they would talk about the Metacritic score, the whole, that little buzz. But most people would treat MLB The Show just kind of like Madden, or like
most
NBA
sports
2K.
Games. They're just kind of evergreen. They've been around forever.
It's been around forever. It's a filler. Who cares about sports games? Sports. But just because that game is got over to another platform is what I posted, and I said, look, if you don't think publishers aren't paying attention to what this is doing right here, we're talking about a sports game, an annual sports game. Outriders is that a game, like, if people who bought it, like I bought it, I paid $60 for it. I don't have the sustain for it, but I've heard people that would, if they had to pay $60 for it, they would be highly pissed because of the fact that the game's broken. It still has issues, and now that they wanted to nerf instead of pay attention to, getting the fundamentals correct for where people can play the game and not lose stuff and things like that. But just think, if people had to buy that game at $60 instead of them getting it on Game Pass, there would be a lot more. Square Enix would be in trouble again, because you got the Avengers and their issues, and then you got this game. They would be in some serious trouble. But because Game Pass, gamers don't feel like they got slided, and the game is fun as hell, and so they give it a pass. Publishers are definitely looking at this. What do you think, Don?
And they're always looking at different business models and how to make money. I mean, they have whole entire departments. That's their job, right? Is to look at the finances and how to make more money or get more money out of the products they're making. I mean, but yeah, the Game Pass, it has a huge impact. Like, it's going beyond just the gamer conversation. My wife, no kidding, the other day, she says, "You want a Game Pass and chill?" I'm like,
what?
So it's become a normal conversation in the household. Even my wife that doesn't play as much as I do, right? And she's, "Well, you want a Game Pass and chill?" I'm like, "All right, let's do that."
Slicking now.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you, Xbox.
I mean, but that's even my wife knows about Game Pass, and you know she's playing on the 360, playing Lips, you know. But it's just the fact that it's like, oh wow, what games are going to be on there? There might be a little game that I might, because she was looking at what was Tell Me, and I was like, oh, it's just it's a game, it's a story driven game. You might get into it. She's like, oh, did you buy it? I said, no, I didn't buy it. I said it's on Game Pass. And so she was like, okay, so do I got Game Pass because you got Game Pass? I said, yeah, because we share. So
on the shared account, gotcha. Yeah.
Right, yeah, we got a shared account, yeah. And so she was, okay, I'll go ahead and maybe try it out. So that she's knowing about Game Pass, and that right there, for a person who isn't a diehard gamer, that's the win right there. That is it right there. And then when you have diehard PlayStation fans, Nintendo fans, PC fans, even now giving the respect due to this service, even though everybody was making fun of it last gen, they're starting to see now, oh wow, I gotta get to it. I gotta, and they're even getting it on PC.
Yeah.
I have to agree with One Bad Mother is that the traditional way what Sony is doing, see, this is the difference. Let's say that Xbox wants to get more, of course they want to get more subscribers, but let's just say that they're going to start getting more big heavy hitter, and they'll charge an extra $5 a month. People will be more accepting to that than paying an extra $10 for a game title. Just think about that for a second, right? Because people still thinking that they're not getting cheated. They're like, oh, they're going to have this. Let's say, like, last show, I brought up the fact of saying, thinking that Battlefield 6 is going to be. If Battlefield 6 come to Game Pass, and then you got Halo coming right after that, nobody's going to complain about paying an extra $5.
Let's say Battlefield 6 doesn't come day and day,
right?
But it comes in February, right? That 6 month, you're getting to that point where the sales are going to drop off, and bam, it's in there. Now the game's relevant once again. In regards to that, so there's so many elements, and there's different ways different developers are playing out Game Pass. So they're all getting a good feel for it. They're all trying to have a better understanding of it. It's a new beast. No one really completely understands it. And from what I understand, Phil's team has different plans for depending on what the game is, and they don't have just one business model that works for one game. They do have a plan for different types of games to bring to it. And what's crazy is everything that goes to Game Pass, guess what? It's all integrated, right? It's like the hub.
Right.
Goes to your consoles, goes to all that sort of stuff. And, they're still selling games. It's not like they're not selling games. You know what I mean? The revenue is just generated in a different way. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing for me is where it's just changed. Gaming is changing, and I've kept on saying that. Like I've talked about Rainway, and I was getting made fun of it. I said, look, I think Xbox. The reason why Rainway just stopped abruptly, and then all of a sudden, I said Microsoft was probably negotiating with them about something. I said because it would make a lot of sense if people could play their PC game and run through Xbox. Boom, here they go. They got a deal going on with Microsoft, with going on with the xCloud. Now, the app is still most likely going to come to Xbox, and so, and of course, we talked about we did talk about the Chrome, the Edge Chrome, and
relationship
their capabilities.
And how robust the Edge is going to be down the road. Yeah, I gotcha.
Right. So, I mean, look, Xbox is going to become this ecosystem to where nobody can refuse it in one way, shape, or form. Like, I mean, you could be a diehard PC guy, but you're like, man, I got to get this Game Pass because I can save games. I can save me some money, especially on newer titles. Console gamers, they're going to be feeling like they're winning. So Sony is going to have to do something, and charging $10 extra for their big titles, for Spider-Man, for God of War, for Horizon, Horizon Zero. I'm just going to say Horizon Zero Dawn. I can't remember the sequel's name, but those titles for sure, people pay the $10 without any problem. It's just the game like when you look at Returnal. Returnal belongs as a game to be sold at a regular price, and people get an opportunity to try it, and or put it on PSN and then just go that route, but. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. I mean, but the old traditional ways just doesn't seem especially when people. There's people out there that's still suffering, and I mean, and people are looking for value. And
I think people also go with an more open mind into a game when they don't feel
yeah,
like they risk so much too as well,
yeah,
and that carries more of a positive environment out in the gaming community, and that's a big thing. Microsoft is just not getting enough credit for in regards to like look at Cross. I'm sure when Crossfire X comes out, right, a lot of people would probably just normally pass on it, like whatever, just another military shooter. Boom! If it comes to the Game Pass, people are going to give it a shot, right?
people are going to give it a shot.
There's an impact there, and if you don't create something, you're going to be left behind. Look at the services that are trying to make something like Game Pass. They're having a hard time beating it, so they're joining them, right? Look at EA and stuff like that. So there's something to be said there. So they have a good business model. I think it's working well for them. And as I said this before, every platform provider should have something like Game Pass. And there's rumors that Sony will have something down the road. We're just not there yet. So
right. Okay. All right. So we've been Sony heavy tonight. Okay. So this is something, and I don't know, it's speculation. But so far this is now this could be something that could counteract against a Game Pass, I guess. But so far it's causing a lot of hoopla. And that is somebody dropped there's a clause that's going on within that I guess, like with Sony doing their exclusive first party deals or whatever.
I think I've seen you tweet this.
Yeah.
I think it's fake. You know why?
Why? Why do you think
there's
it's fake?
a lot of grammar errors?
Really? Okay.
And as somebody is awful at grammar. Matter of fact, I am the quintessential worst person when it comes to grammar. It's one of my hardest things going through college and high school, and I still fumble up today. That's why I don't tweet that much. Guys, I just don't understand it a whole lot. I saw a lot of errors. So made me think that it's a little bit on the fake side in regards to, or just a really bad intern that needs to go back to school. I don't know, but I
would hope so.
Yeah, so
I would hope so, because I mean personally, I won't go in to read the whole thing about
it was a parody clause sort of thing.
Yeah, it was the parody clause, and then it was also the clause of like, if you go ahead and since we're giving you the money for this game, then you don't put this on Game Pass at any point. So that, like, to me, that's kind of like, what? Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, I mean,
that would be negotiated on an individual level if there was something that Sony really wanted. But here's the thing, though. If Sony really wants that and really lock down a particular game, they're going to have to really put forth the effort and offer big coin. Does that make sense? Right. And here's where it becomes a problem, right? They keep offering more and more money for these exclusives, and they're not getting that return. Where Microsoft's like, yeah, we'll give you this and then this, but then they're making money off the back end off of it, right? So like it's going to be a hard thing to do. I don't think they're going to have that sort of clause in regards to that. It's just not worth their effort or time. And I honestly think development, it's always going to go the path of least resistance, right? The most powerful, easiest platform to provide to make games on is the one they're going to be the lead platform, and everything's going to trickle down to everything that's a little bit harder, and they're just going to scale accordingly just to make it work. And so realistically, and Sony knows this, it's up to them making their tools more streamlined, right? And so if they make their tools more streamlined, they're going to be able to compete in regards to that. And at the end of the day, who cares about the resolution number? Who cares about this exact frame rate you have to hit all the time, right? It's about making it a tangible experience where you can feel the difference between the different platforms. And if you can't tell the difference, then who cares? Like, seriously, play on the platform that you want to enjoy and enjoy yourself, and let these platform providers compete for your dollar. That's the way I look at it.
I totally agree. I mean, I've heard about the parity situation all the way back, going with the Xbox One, where there was he's a pretty big content creator now, but I was watching his stuff. Dream Shake, I think that's his name. Because I always, I like basketball, and so he was one of the people that was playing NBA 2K,
Okay,
and
gotcha.
he brought up a thing about that there was some kind of parody situation where Sony at the time was having the Resolution Act situation, saying that Sony had the better version of NBA 2K, but because of Microsoft, they stopped it, and so they just kept it comparable. They had the parity situation. When I first heard that, I'm kind of like, that's garbage. Microsoft shouldn't have that much pull to do that, because I mean, if you go back and think about the old days,
I don't really think they even had pull back then for that sort of thing.
No. That was the thing too. I think that was one of those things where there was all this piling on.
It's like the Kevin Bacon thing where it's several people removed, sort of thing.
Right. And so what I'm looking at is, you go back and you think about the Genesis, Nintendo. Just go back into just the old generations. There was no parity. If games looked better on one console and that game was on another console and it did look better, people noticed that right off the bat. Mm-hmm. So it's like that should stop anything. And so maybe if these are the type of issues that if this is real, which I hope not, then maybe this is why Xbox is doing the things that they're doing to make sure that people can get the best experience from their televisions and for their monitors, stuff like that. Kind of have a workaround. So
it's not a workaround. It's expected on every platform, right?
Right.
You have a set of features that helps developers realize their dreams, and you're removing barriers, and you really do it at the driver level.
Have you ever heard anything like that since you've been in the
drivers
business?
Being updated and new features?
Well, no. Like, just like parity. Like, you can only work on something.
I've heard of it too, but I don't repeat it because it's so many people removed. I don't think it's real. To be honest.
Okay, that was my whole thing. Is that you think it's real?
Yeah, I don't think it's real, and it's coming from somebody that doesn't program or doesn't create art, right? So like, it's kind of like, that's not the whole point of this sort of stuff. I just don't. Maybe in some rare cases it can be. It'd be ignorant for me to ignore that everybody is on the up and up on everything, but
right.
I just don't. I just don't think that benefits. That's a losing proposition to a game developer, in my view, right? Because you're holding back your game to its fullest potential, right? And you want to please a developer wants to please every customer regardless of platform they play on, and they want to give them the best possible experience. And they have more. And here's the thing: is developers have more loyalty to their game than their preferred platform.
Absolutely.
Okay, their heart and soul goes into their game, not into Sony or Microsoft, unless they're a first-party publisher. And there's a little bit different, atmosphere and personalities that exist at those studios, but they care about their product more than they care about someone else's product, and that's kind of the harsh reality that people just don't realize that. And when people start talking about this sort of stuff, think about it in that light. Frame it that way. These developers care more about their product than they care about Sony, or they care about Microsoft, or they care about Nintendo, or all that sort of stuff. They want to have strong relationships with all of them, but they care more about their product. And it's just the harsh reality.
Totally. All right, so all the rest of this stuff is more depressing stuff, so I'm not even going to get
more depressing.
I'm just kind of like, I'm not here to because there's a lot of Sony news, and so I don't want to just kind of be. And so I'm backing off of that. So I got to ask you this question, right? Okay, so we can go ahead and get out of here. What kind of gamer are you, Don? I mean, there's all different types of gamers. I seen somebody ask this question on Facebook, and it was really kind of crazy because I was like, what kind of tier gamer am I? Because I mean, of course, everybody's, oh, you're hardcore, you're casual, but I'm saying, like, in the sense of, are you a completionist? Are you a person that has, are you not a completionist? You basically you just want to beat the game just to beat it. The genre of game that you love the most, stuff like that. What kind of gamer are you?
I don't know. Like, I don't know.
It's a hard question, right?
Well, I think it's hard for people from our generation because we just gamed.
Yeah.
Like, and I always found it weird when people start calling each other gamers. What am I a music listener? We all listen to music, right?
Right.
Like that's the way I've always looked at, because I always grew up with it. So I never see that sort of thing in regards to that. So it's just a little weird to me that people categorize themselves. Now, if you must know my personality is somebody of the games, I like to try out as many different experiences as I can, right? Like, there's certain genres I'm always going to enjoy, and I'm going to want to have another swing at that type of genre of game. And then I'm going to have other projects that, I want to try something new. And sometimes it won't gravitate towards me, and sometimes it will. But I do want to have new experiences and new projects that I can play. So, yeah, I guess that's the type of gamer that I am, and I don't care about achievements. I'm glad when I get them, but I'm not.
Right.
That's not a driving force behind me. In regards to, I care more about having a sense of accomplishment, though. When I'm in a game, that really resonates with me, is having a beginning, middle, and end. And sometimes that's really hard with modern day games now. And if I don't have that, I can have fun playing it, but I don't have a sense of gratification playing it. In regards to that, and I have to have a sense of gratification to get the most out of a game. In regards to that, and sometimes a sense of gratification, like co-op games, love them. Most of the time when you see me playing a co-op game these days, it's with Mega here, right? But there's this thing that it's hard to describe when you play well with somebody, right? And there's this unspoken word how you trap or play or interact against the enemy, and it just kind of just all comes together. You know what I mean? And you're able to read off one another. It's almost like playing a game of basketball but never having a coach, but you just play a bunch of street ball and you just know each other's moves. There's that unspoken word. And I there's that sensation that comes from doing co-op games like that I think they're super huge, in regards to that. So, yeah, there's a lot of things. I want to enjoy as many experiences as I possibly can. Certain games that I criticize, I don't have a sensation of accomplishment. Those are the ones I kind of peter out on.
Right.
Where I don't, I played this game for a year and I don't know what the hell is going on in the game still. You know what I mean? Like, I can't figure out what's going on. That sort of story-driven thing where it's...
Or you don't want to know what's going on.
Yeah, like, I've lost interest at a point. I've gotten to that point where you feel frustrated in trying to figure out what the hell's going on. I don't mind mystery. Mystery's great. I think mystery's great. You don't have to explain everything in a game, but I just have to at least... kind of like an actor. What's my motivation, right? You know what I mean? So that's I guess I don't know what that category is. I don't know what it is in regards to that. And there's just something about that discovery when you go around a corner in a game, and then it takes you to a world that you didn't imagine, and there's something about that. So
yeah, doubt about it. Cali Rex asked a question. He says, "Yo, I would like to get Don's thoughts on the Lord of the Rings MMO cancellation between Tencent and Amazon. Do you know anything about that?"
I do know things about that.
I
can't talk about that one.
Flying
a little too close to the sun on that one.
Oh, okay. Well, we can't do that.
That
one. All right. Anybody else have another question? Matter of fact, by the way, I think this will be a good little thing too as well. If anybody has questions for our next show, drop it into the DM, either mine or Don's.
Or just tweet it. Make it public.
Yeah,
start the conversation, and we'll read it live on this show.
Yeah.
Interact with us in regards to that, or drop it in the comments on K Mega's YouTube channel. One of those areas would be great. And just make it public on Twitch or on K Mega's YouTube channel. I think would be the best thing, right?
Yeah, I could do that. Or then also, I did do a thing. I finally made a GRG podcast Twitter page. So you could go there, check that out. It's GRG @GRG _ podcast. So
Nice.
You could go ahead and you can ask those questions there. What's going on, Yobi? And so yeah, you could definitely do that.
Who's in the chat?
Yobi.
Who?
Yobi. Whoa. Whoa, that's harsh. That's hard, Don. You look at you're out of character. Anyway,
man, he shows up in the last hour.
Yeah, I
see how it goes.
We see how it goes.
He's been getting back to life, so I'm gonna cut him a little bit of slack. So
yeah, and then he called me. He beat my tail in Jump Force at the end of the fight night. So yeah, he should feel good about himself.
There's always one game that somebody's practicing on for fight night just to work against you. I've noticed that with certain games. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh no, I noticed. I mean, matter of fact, Trizzy has been sending me clips and posting clips in the fight night club on Xbox of him playing Power Rangers. And so, I'm like, Lord have mercy. So I gotta get in the lab because everybody's getting ready because there's new characters that's going to be dropping, and they fight like Chung. One fights like Chung Li, and the other one fights like Ryu. So that's really cool, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. So, and then also I got hit up by Husk, and I guess that there were people that wants to do a Dead or Alive tournament or something like that. And so I'm like, you know what? Anytime there's a fighter, I'm with it. So that would be fun. So yeah, I definitely Fight Night has gotten a lot of traction, man. Believe it or not. So that's really, really fun. So yeah, now we just got to get.
I miss the multi-stream days from Mixer, though. I'll tell you what.
Oh man, I definitely miss it as well. Because you just see what everybody's playing. We're all interacting, and then like the chats just together, and just different people just having great conversations within the chat. Like, I mean, I would hope that Twitch would implement that.
Oh, well, we got to get partner. So we have a long road ahead of us.
Yeah.
If we get just the number of people to watch Devin the Gamer to show up to at least 1/3 of our streams, we would be there. Right? We would be there, right? In regards to that. But, we got to earn it. It's just how it goes, man. No big deal.
It's just how we're newbies still.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not even officially a year in Twitch. So, I mean.
Yeah, that's going to happen soon, isn't it?
No, we got till
the summer, right? Like July or something September. Like that when it happened?
September, I thought, for me. Because
I thought it was June or July that we made the switch.
I made the switch, but I didn't start streaming again because I was depressed. So I started. I really started kicking back there until I think it's about September, maybe August. Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Last year was one of those years I don't even want to remember. So,
yeah, we're living in the sequel right now. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh man. Anyway, all right, guys. Do anybody have any more questions before we get out of here? And please don't forget, if you have something that you want to ask me or Don, just go ahead and hit me up there at GRG_podcast or on my channel. Or catch Don on his Twitter. What's your Twitter handle, Don?
Don_KTR, and all my links are down below here on Twitch. And I'll do my best to send everything to K Mega, so you can have that stuff live on his channel. In regards to that, we're gonna do better at providing information with all our shit. We're working on it.
I'm getting better at it.
It's not just you, man. It's just you. I'm just as now that I'm being more forthcoming on my own stuff. I realize, man, we need to help each other out a little bit better, right? So, we're definitely going to see that stuff going forward. And yeah, it's a 2-week break, right? We basically next week we take it off, and then we'll be back again. In regards to that, and so you guys got about 2 weeks to give us any sort of topics we want to talk about on the channel. We'll go from there, and I have to go look at that GameStack stuff tomorrow and see what stuff applies to me and what things I'm going to benefit from for sure.
Yeah,
so.
No doubt. And I told Yobi that I was going to do a video Monday, but then I gave my explanation of what happened, but And it goes back to why there was no GRG and all that, but we're good now. Everything was working good except for my headsets today. So but like I said, I got to work around.
We're going to get you like a Blue Yeti now. Is that what we need to do?
I got this. So I might have to just go back to this puppy. I don't know if you
What do you got
right
there?
Here. You see it right here? Hold on, let me pull it. Send it.
Is that from Flight of the Navigator? What the hell is that shit?
It is. It is.
Is that a snowball?
So, yeah, it's been right here the whole time, but I've been just using the headset, so I might have to hook this bad puppy on. And then I got like about 4 or 5 mics, so I might.
How many mics do you got? What are you talking about?
I got about like 7 mics.
What are you talking about? Like what other mics you got?
I got. I'm not going to show all these mics. I got the ones that look like absolute real like radio mics. And I got 3 of those. And
are they XLR connections?
Are they
USB?
The problem they're both USB, and then the other one, because you have to get the little box to go with it, the battery to go with it or whatever, the little box, the battery and all that stuff.
We're going to talk about this stuff after the stream here. But we'll get King-Mega's mic situation. He doesn't sound too bad for talking to a Logitech camera right now. But he's got King-Mega just clicks nice shit and then he never plugs it in. So we'll just take care of that.
Look like we're coming back to you, baby. Let's go. Okay, but anyway, also. This will be on Spotify. We will be on iHeartRadio. We will also be on anything that's on what is it? I can't even think of the name. Podbean. All of the stuff there. The link is in the description on my channel. So you can go and check us out. We'll definitely get that. I'll get that up probably most likely tomorrow, if not for sure Thursday. So it will definitely go ahead and do that. So, Don, carry us out, man.
All right, man. Oh, yeah. We got to raid somebody, right?
Let's
raid somebody.
Oh, by the way, GRG this Friday night. Don't tell anybody. Secret. But we got a special guest coming. So
it's King-Mega's mom.
She will be delighted. You want to hear a lot of cussing and talking about the old days? Yes. Listen to some old school jams. My mom would be a great guy. Anyway, we have Dealer coming to the show Friday. So hope you guys come and check us out then. And and I'm supposed to be going on this show next Tuesday too. So,
yeah, who should we hit up, guys? Do you guys got any suggestions on Twitch?
Let's see. Oh, I was going to say here. Let's go here, but no, that's the recommended list.
Yeah, your recommended list is filthy.
Mine. Yours is awful.
All right, this guy.
I see Bloody Knuckles.
No, I want to hit someone up different here.
Oh, so wait, just random. Okay,
random. Yeah.
All right.
I'll let King-Mega figure it out. You send me the name on a tweet there, and I'll DM.
You said send you a name?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, hold on. Let's see.
This guy's playing Outriders. We play Outriders.
Yeah. So why do I got to give you a name?
I got it. Don't worry about it.
You got all the buttons.
All right. I got all sorts of buttons.
Handy.
All sorts of buttons. Don't leave yet, Handy. Give this guy a follow.
Yeah, give this guy a follow. Go support, guys. Thank you for coming, checking us out. Sure. This will be up on my channel and on Spotify and all that when I get it, most likely tomorrow. So, great.
Gamers support gamers, right?
Yeah, of course.
All right. I hit a button, but now I have a timer. No, it's like a 9-second timer.
Oh, okay. I see.
This is where I do this.
Okay, 6. Okay.
All right. Later.